Okay, thank you for joining us for our alumni webinar series. My name is Richard Jacobs. I'm lecturer and course lead for the animation programme in the School of the Arts at York University. I've been asked to host this webinar as part of the YSJ alumni series, Alumni Journeys, Creativity, Careers and Community. So before I introduce today's speaker, I've got a few housekeeping matters just to let you know about. So the questions in today's webinar have been prepared in advance. If you have any questions that you would like to ask our speaker today, please email alumni@yorksj.ac.uk and the team will pass on your questions. There is also an auto transcript appearing during the talk for increased accessibility. However, please be aware this might not translate correctly. Thank you. So I'd like to introduce you to Alisha Clarke. Hello, Alisha. So Alisha, also known as Kitty Monic on social media, is a 2D digital animator and artist. Alisha has been drawing ever since she was small and was inspired to try animation after watching a-ha's Take On Me animated music video. A great place to start.
Yeah.
So Alisha went on to study animation at York St John University between 2018 to 2021 with myself as course tutor and our small but mighty class of 8 students at the time. So for the last 4 years, Alisha has been working for the indie animation studio Spindlehorse Toons, working on animation, cleanup and retakes on productions such as Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel. And just to give you a sense of the scale of these productions, Hell of a Boss, the online web series, regularly and every single episode is in the tens of millions in terms of the views, and Has Been Hotel has been in the top 10 series on Amazon Prime since it was released at the end of January. So it is absolutely huge. The pilot alone has 110 million views on YouTube itself. So if you haven't seen it yet, what are you doing? Go and watch them.
Check it
out. So I think we'll get started if you're ready.
Absolutely.
So let's go right back to the beginning. So we've jumped forward there to your kind of current career position. But tell us more, take us back. How did you get into animation?
Yeah, so as you were saying with the band a-ha, I was super obsessed with that animated music video Take On Me when I was really young. And it was actually the first time I'd gotten into drawing in general as well. I thought the sketchy animation style was really cool and newspaper panels. And I remember like putting pieces of paper to the screen and like tracing over all the panels, and then I'd like react the scenes myself, and I'd like stick my hand through the piece of paper like Morton did when he reached for the girl. I loved it. And when it comes to actually animating for the first time, it was when I'd gotten my first DSi for Christmas. And there was a little game on there called Flipnote Hatino, which is basically just a really simple animation app. So I would doodle on there and make really silly like videos, animated videos. And the first one I ever made was these stick men running on the Titanic as it sank. It was kind of morbid. And I made some other ones of like Pokemon because I love Pokemon. And my favorite Pokemon at the time was Snivy. So I did a lot of animations with Snivy. You could also connect the DSi to the internet where other people would like upload their own flip notes and stuff. And they were super inspiring to look at. And I'd repeat them over and over again. I'd go through frame by frame. You could flick through so I can be like, oh, how did they do that? How did they do that? And this was all when I was like 10, 11 years old.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, that's when you think about it, you started out making kind of animations and then finding a community to share them with online.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you're doing now, professionally, like working kind of remotely with like teams that are spread across the whole planet. So it's kind of just a big mega version of what you sort of started out doing, which is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So that leads us in nicely then to thinking about. So you obviously were exploring and inspired by animation from a very young age, and you kind of explored it at your first available opportunity. So why then did you decide to take that to study animation at university?
So, man, when I was a teenager, in sixth form, and you sit in your little form groups and go through UCAS and researching unis and stuff. What do you want to do? What do you want to apply for? At the time, I didn't even realize animation was a career path that I could even pursue. I originally wanted to be a vet because I really love animals. But after I struggled through the A-level sciences, I dropped out of chemistry, and like the first month it was so hard. I was like, I've got to try something else. And after a bunch of research, I stumbled across animation courses. I was like, huh, that's a thing? Yeah, I'd love to do that. I still drew constantly. I still had a love for, animation. So I thought it'd be really cool to go and learn and animate my own stuff. So,
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So why then? What kind of guided your decision to study animation specifically at York St John?
If I'm honest with you, with YSJ, it was just good vibes. Good vibes.
What we'd like to hear.
Yeah. I'd applied to unis quite close to home, as I was quite nervous of the idea of going quite far away from my family and where I used to live. So I looked at a bunch around Yorkshire, and I was leaning towards this arts-based university. It's like, ooh, fancy, prestigious art school. I really wanted to go there. But when I went to the open days and the interviews, there was kind of this air of like competition, if that makes sense. Like
Yes.
high standardness is like every man for themselves in a way. But in contrast to that, when I went to the open days at York St John, I felt so much more relaxed. I wasn't tense. I wasn't scared. Everyone was really welcoming and friendly, especially you, Rich. I remember it was the first time we met.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, and he really took the time to look through my work and appreciate it. I even took my DSI to show him my animations. Um, and he'd offer his thoughts, opinions. You really supportive of my work and passion. I really appreciate that a lot. Rather than, there was other unis that fire questions at you. They'd be like, "Oh, this is your favorite animated film? What's the name of the directors?" Stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. And it's not about, oh, who knows it all. It's just about having fun and making cool things. Yeah. So also, York is just like a really nice city. I've lived in the countryside my whole life, and so seeing other, big cities, it's just too big of a change. All the people, all the skyscrapers, it's too loud. But York is just the opposite. The people are nice. The architecture is really cool. All the York walls, the Minster, everything. It's like a big cozy town, and I like that a lot. And deep down, after my mum took me around York for the first time, going to the open days, talking to you, I just knew that my heart was set on this university. And if any of you watching right now don't know where to pick, you will know deep down. It's a feeling, you'll get it. You don't have to go to a competitive specialist art university to be a successful person. You can do the same at a local community-based uni like YSJ. Can.
Amazing, yeah. And to reflect that back at you as well, there was always and there is always an amazing kind of supportive community within the groups of students at the university as well. So that's really great to hear. So just moving on then to thinking about the sort of course in more detail and your experience of it. What would you say was the most relevant project or module that you did that helped your sort of develop that skill base in animation?
Yeah, so I definitely think it was the art of performance we did in second year. Um, and that helped me develop as an animator the most. Because even though you're learning about the basic animation principles through first year, once you've got all that down, I felt like I really excelled in second year by putting those principles into practice with my character Batty. Do you remember Batty, Rich?
Of course, I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
So in this module, you basically learn, we basically learned character acting, and you get to design the character, storyboard the scene you want, go through the whole animation pipeline. And the coolest part is that you get to work or we got to work with a voice actor, Mark Berghagen. Is that how you say his
Yeah.
name? Mark, yeah, really cool guy. You get to direct them in person as they voice the lines of your character, which is just so cool. Um, and we got to take the references of, the gestures he'd make in the booth to use in our animations. So an example is there's one line where Batty, if you remember him saying, who needs luxurious air travel when you have wings like these? And Mark did like this with his gestures, wings like these, and I implemented that, into Batty's movements when I animated him.
Bah! Who needs luxurious air travel when you have wings like these?
Yeah.
Brilliant. That's really, yes. Of course, I remember, and we still work with Mark as well, and everyone loves working with him. He's
That's
really,
great.
really good.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. So I mean that's obviously a memorable project that's kind of stuck with you. But are there any others memorable projects that you worked on while you're studying there, or is that the kind of main one that sort of stands out at you?
I think definitely, the third year where you get to just make your own film, really, because, I have many ideas growing up, especially when I'd listen to animated music videos. I really love animated music videos. They're my absolute favorite. I love how music and animation fits together perfectly, and it can enhance what the audience is feeling when they're watching it. I think that's really special. And in third year, you can do whatever you want. And I really wanted to make an animated music video of my character Pixel, and it was just so much fun. Yeah, you get a lot of freedoms in third year. And so the fact that I was able to pursue that passion of, creating an animated music video was just amazing. Yeah. I also really loved the movement in nature project in second year. As I said earlier, I really love animals, and this module was all I could ever dream of, honestly. So I would take any opportunity to animate anthropomorphic animals in any brief, but this one was just perfect. And yeah, this time we got to go to the zoo. You took us to the zoo. It was amazing. And I got to spend time with my classmates, and we would run around the place with our little sketchbook, sketching everything we can, interacting with all the different animals. And I like to do photography as well. So I took some really cool photos of the animals there to help use as references in my project. And I got a lot of good shots where they're in motion as well. And it can be quite hard to animate quadrupeds and just animals in general because of how different they are to humans. So the photos really helped, and being able to go on that trip was, yeah, it helped out a lot. So I picked the ring-tailed lemur for my project because they're just really cute. When I saw them at the zoo, and the little body patterns was really, really, really cool. And I thought it'd be really cool to make like a video game moveset. So like a run, a jump, an idle, an attack, because I really like to play video games in my spare time as well. And at YSJ, you also get to work with games designers. And I made a good friend called Corin, who is a games designer there. Still hang out with him today. Very fun guy, super talented. And he helped me put my animations of the lemur like into an engine so I could actually play her running around, attacking things. And that was just so cool. Yeah.
So I'm looking at your sort of studies more broadly then, what transferable skills do you think you developed as part of your degree?
I think the really important one is, being taught the industry standard software at uni, and learning specifically Toon Boom was great because I still use it every day in my job on Hell of a Boss. So, learning the shortcuts, the techniques, and just general practice, the 3 years I was at uni made the work process at my job a lot quicker and a lot easier. So I wasn't falling behind. I already knew how things worked, and I definitely think that's what helped me the most. Animation software is quite expensive, and it's hard to get yourself. So, the uni do provide all these softwares for free for you to try out. And if you want to know anything, yeah, they'll help you out.
That's great. So, big one then. What would you, if you could go back and meet your younger self, what would you say to yourself when you were at university? What advice would you go back with?
Yeah, just to not be scared and everything will be okay. I had an insane amount of anxiety growing up, and I still do a bit now, but when you start university, you go into a new place, you don't know anyone. You may feel like you don't really belong there. And I remember I just bawled my eyes out when I said goodbye to my mum and brother as they'd helped me unpack and they left my accommodation. I worry a lot, but things usually work out in the end and you'll be fine. There's a lot of people around, to support you. And you may feel scared now or sad, but as my therapist would say, will this matter to you in 5 years? Will you be scared about this moment in 5 years? And the answer is probably not. So I'd go tell myself, it'll be okay. You can get through it. Yeah.
Good advice. Good advice. And I imagine a similar experience for most going through the sort of university as well. So would you say you had a favourite memory of Yorkstone University?
I think, our last lesson that we had together, I think I'll forever remember that. That was a really good memory. So we got to celebrate our hard work on our last day. And I remember when you gave us these little goodie bags with sweets and little Pokemon figures in. I still have mine. It's on my PC to remind me every day. There we go. My little Zorua I got.
Oh, nice. That's good. Still there.
Still have it there. Yeah, and I remember you put up like balloons and bunting, and I brought some baking for everyone to eat because I really like baking. And we even drew on a big board together. So Rich, you got out this big board with a class of 2021 on the top, and then everyone in the class doodled our own characters on it, including you as well, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, I really love my class, and it was a great day to just it was a great way to wrap up our hard work and the journey we've made together at uni. It's really special.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Great. So starting to think about, we've looked at your experience of studying, so we'll start to think about sort of moving into your sort of professional life now from university. So could you tell us a little bit about applying and interviewing, if there was a formal interview experience for your job at Spindlehorse?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I'll start from the beginning. When I was growing up, I was a huge fan of Vivian Madrano's work, the creator of Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. And I originally discovered her through her Die Young animated music video, which she animated all herself. And as you know, I love animated music videos. And I love this one. And it's a very upbeat animation about her wolf character, JJ, dancing to Kesha's song. And I love the way like her characters move. Their designs are amazing. Everything's colorful. The way Viv animates is very fluid. The facial expressions are so fun. So I really love her work. So yeah, back in second year with our professional portfolio module, we would learn to build our own portfolio and make a show reel, make a website showcasing all of our work. Help us learn the application process in general for animation jobs. And I remember Claire, our lecturer who was teaching us at the time this specific module, she told me how a lot of the animation industry professionals are on Twitter. And it's true. And it's really important to have that social media presence on Twitter and connect with people there. So I made my first Twitter account and I started following a bunch of animation creatives I really liked. So, Dana Terrace, who made the Owl House, and I followed Mystery Skulls. They do really cool animated music videos. And I also found Viv's Twitter as well. So I was like, cool, follow her too. And I'm not kidding, like 3 months later, after making this account in the summer of 2020, she made a tweet saying she was looking to hire animators, which is really exciting. So I just put a comment down with the reel and the website that I made, like, just that same year. And she saw it and she liked it. So she emailed me an animation test to complete. So this is basically where you're just given, a small animation to complete to see if you fit the style well, rather than like an interview and CVs and stuff. That's kind of how it goes, at least in the indie animation scene. So I was given a storyboard, I was given some audio, and I was so excited to get started. I dropped everything and I just animated on it constantly. And within about a week, I'd animated about a 6-second shot of a dialogue scene of Blitz and Moxie, which are some of the main characters of Hell of a Boss. I sent it off, and then on the 9th of June, I got an email back at like 5 a.m. UK time. and I'll read to you what she said. Actually, I've got the email up. So she said, "Hey Alisha, still going through all the tests I got back so far, but I wanted to say I adore what you did. The timing's perfect. The expressions are so spot on and it's clean. Seriously beautiful work, and I'd love to have you join our team." And I screamed. I was like, "No way, bro." I couldn't believe it. I didn't think it would go anywhere, but it did. And I'm getting to work with like a person I've admired so much and finally break into the industry. So I'm so grateful for Viv, giving me a chance. And it's a cool job too. Like, I love the personalities and the designs of all the characters, in Hell of a Boss. They sing, they dance, and I can help create these music videos. It's a dream come true. It's all I could ever want. Yeah.
Brilliant. So I think that leads us quite nicely into thinking about working on Hell of a Boss now then. So can you tell us more about working on Hell of a Boss specifically? So what's that like?
Yeah, so at the time of joining, the studio had just finished a Zoophobia short, which is just another IP that Viv has, and then a Has Been Hotel animated music video called Addict. So at the time, we were just, beginning the production of the first episode of Hell of a Boss. So that's what I started with. So we all work over Discord, and I'd get assigned a bunch of shots. I'd get the storyboard, the audio. I'd get like prop sheets, character sheets, the layouts, and I'd just get cracking to animating, really. So I worked on Hell of a Boss episode 1 and 2 over the summer of 2020. And then I took a break to focus on my third year at YSJ. And then after that, I've been, full-time ever since I graduated. It's been really interesting now that I've been there for 4 years, seeing how the studio has changed over time. Spindle is, an indie animation studio at the end of the day, all artists working remotely. So things are a bit more informal, a bit sporadic. Sometimes there's miscommunications, it's less structured, and there's less people. So everyone's just, doing bits of everything to, trying their best to make a good show. Poor Viv would handle like all the invoices, assign all the shots, give notes. She must have been really, really overworked. But all these issues are expected to happen with most indie productions when you're in those beginning phases and you're just trying to figure out how everything works. It's a lot different from those big structured corporate studios with hundreds of people and lots of experience that already know how to run a business in a studio. But everyone at Spindle has been learning and growing together. And as the studio gets bigger, Viv has done a really good job in restructuring things as time has gone on. So we have production assistants, and now we have leads of each department to help assign shots and give notes and direct their crew, and finance people to do all the math stuff and all the invoices. Everything's a lot more organized, which is great. And these changes have helped the pipeline of how we create each episode a lot smoother, which is just great.
So yes, it's great that you've had that opportunity to kind of grow with the studio as well. And I
Yeah.
think that kind of as we mentioned earlier on, that kind of culminates in the production of Has Been Hotel as well, which I know we talk about indie studio productions, but this is a
Yeah.
gigantic success. And as I say, been in in the top 10 on Amazon Prime for all year, pretty much globally as well.
Another great thing working for Spindle is that you get to do lots of different, well, you get the opportunity to work on lots of different parts of the pipeline. So I've been able to do, cleanup animation as well as regular animation. I've gotten to do retakes and assist the leads at times. And there's some of the people that get to, they're asked to help make merchandise for the show. And their art is sold as T-shirts, posters, enamel pins, all sorts. And it's fantastic because everyone can try new things and expand their own portfolios. Also, because of the fans, support through Patreon, which is a subscription service where you can see some of the behind the scenes, and also, the merchandise sells really well as well. We've been able to keep making more Hell of a Boss episodes, and the budget goes directly back into our production as well. And over the 4 years, she has given us like multiple pay increases, and Viv always puts her artists first, and that's something that I really love about her. Unlike big corporations that just kind of focus on their own profits instead, she gives it back to the artists, which is great. And I think the last thing I'll say, on Hello and Spindle in general, is that I think it's worth mentioning all the friends that I've made. We used to jump into like Discord calls and watch movies together, or just keep each other company whilst we'd work, on our shots. And it's a diverse group of people. We've got people, I've met people from like Canada, Australia. There's people in South Korea, Mexico, everywhere, and you get to hear about all these amazing experiences and cultures that your colleagues have, and so it's a lot of fun getting to know them as well.
So as I say, it's great that you've had that opportunity to grow with as the studio has grown over the course of the last 4 years that you've been with them, and that kind of culminates in the production and release of Has Been Hotel, which I mentioned earlier is a gigantic success on Amazon Prime, and has been in the top 10 all year, pretty much globally as well. So what's that experience been like working on Has Been Hotel, and how does that balance against sort of your work on Hell of a Boss?
So I only worked on the finale episode of Has Been Hotel, so season 1, episode 8. So I did some animation revisions and some cleanup animation too. I'd say it wasn't too much different from Helliver. At least the pipeline was the same for me. I think the only major difference is that, the deadlines are a bit more strict and the pay was a little less than Helliver. But, I'm not going to pretend I know the ins and outs of, working with big companies like Amazon. But, there's budgets and deadlines that are most likely out of our controls, and you just got to go with it. And that's why I like Helliver more. I'm more biased because we'll always be indie. We'll always have that community of people.
Mm-hmm.
We're flexible with deadlines, and the pay is a lot better. Again, Viv puts her artists first. And then another thing that was different about Has Been was that everyone at Spindle who worked on it, we got invited to LA to watch a crew screening of Has Been, which was just incredible. I got to go to America for the first time and see my colleagues in person for the first time as well. I was just so excited but really nervous. I remember I was at the premiere just shaking like a leaf. I was like, oh my God, all these cool people. It's really awesome to be there. I admire all these talented people a lot, and finally seeing them in real life after all these years working with them remotely is so surreal. So we all got dressed up in fancy clothes, and we got to see everyone's hard work on the big screen. And then we all got to mingle and have some drinks afterwards. And I tried to make the trip, worthwhile, because I was going so far away. So I stayed for just under a week. I would have stayed longer, but LA is quite expensive. Um, so I went out for meals with my colleagues. I remember eating breakfast with one of the voice actors, Morgana Ignis. She's so incredible, very talented actor, voice actor, and she's so funny. She's so funny. I got to go horse riding with Viv on the mountains near the Hollywood sign. That was so cool.
Wow.
With some of my other colleagues as well. I did escape rooms, and then at the very end, we had a big crew like house party at the end where I got very drunk and shared my British snacks with everyone. And I'm pleased to say they enjoyed the jammy Dodgers and bourbon biscuits.
I mean, jammy Dodgers is a safe bet for for a biscuit for people to enjoy for sure.
Yeah.
Great. So, would you say there are any particular lessons or skills that you've picked up while you've been at Spindlehorse?
Yeah, I think the one main lesson that I taught myself at Spindle was that change is okay and not to get too attached to the work you make at a studio. A lot of people are touching the same shot. It's going to change sometimes, and most of the time it's a good thing. When I first started, I used to get really upset about getting notes for my shot because I just wasn't, used to having this, standard of work. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not good enough. My work's terrible. But it's fine. Let's just fix it, move on. You get paid for it. Don't worry about it. Especially now that I've had a lot of experience with retakes and revisions. I've learned that everyone's good at different things. I've noticed that some people are amazing at lip sync, but not so good at dynamic shots. And then other people are great at fight scenes and dynamic shots, but can't lip sync to save their life. Or sometimes you just when you're staring at the same shot for days on end, you just forget to look at the big picture and you make mistakes, and it's fine. Yeah, sometimes I'd also get upset that my work was not being translated well in cleanup, because I'm way too much of a perfectionist. And if I saw one little jitter, I'd have a meltdown over it. But it's not that big of a deal. Or there's another time where one of my shots wasn't used because it was accidentally assigned twice, and the other person had completed it first. And this has only ever happened once. I still got paid for the work, of course. But I was just still so upset and overprotective. But at the end of the day, can I swear? Like shit happens. It's just a part of life, and it's not a big deal. I wish I could go back and tell myself to get over it. It's not about you. It's a collaborative process, and I was quite embarrassed about the way I thought when I was younger. But now that I've gained more experience, the last 4 years I've been here, I've not been picky about my work. I've learned to let it go. It's just a part of production. Everyone has their strengths, everyone has their weaknesses, and I'm always really happy to receive notes now because I know it improves my work, and I'm gonna continuously get better at my job because of that.
That's really good advice, I think, for anyone to take away thinking about a career in animation. It's almost certainly always a collaborative effort in some way.
Exactly.
So it's really good to know. So you mentioned that you started the work with Spindlehorse while you were still studying. And I remember you kind of working with that balance. So what was that like for you while you were like having that amazing kind of career explosion, and then and also still having to kind of manage that study as well? So how was that? What was that balance like?
So I mostly only animated for them like in that first summer after second year, and I mostly stopped animating for them when I went to third year, so it didn't affect me too much, but I was worried that I wouldn't be able to come back to the studio after taking such a long break. But Viv was super understanding, and she welcomed me with open arms when I graduated and came back, which I'm very grateful for. I maybe should have taken a bit of a break in that first summer because I went straight from second year to spindle all summer and then third year without stopping. So I was a little burnt out. So I'd probably change that. Um, but also I did get to do my third year client project with Viv. So we got asked to go out and find a client and to do some animation for, and I was very fortunate to already know Viv. So well, yeah, I was like, oh, I'll ask her, why not? And she was very kind enough to give me one of the shots from season 1, episode 7, where Stolas is on the phone talking to Blitz, and that was a lot of fun to do. Yeah.
That's great. And I mean, we can't get away from the fact that you were studying from 2018 to 21, so that obviously fell right into the sort of finally into the middle of the pandemic. Yeah. So, what was that experience like? I mean, for your studies, but also working on that first job as well, like during with the pandemic kind of thrown into the mix. How was that?
Yeah. I don't think it would have been too much different, just because almost everyone at Spindle are freelancers working remotely across the world anyway. So nothing really stopped us from creating when we could just keep doing it in our homes. Though now that I've been working at home for 4 years now, I kind of wish I had a studio to go into, because it does get quite lonely sitting in your room all day and animating, and it's hard to give yourself that cutoff point to stop working when you're at home all the time. It's either, usually I'm hardly doing any work at all, or I'm just working all the time. It's really hard to find that balance. Yeah.
So moving on to thinking about sort of career advice then, sort of more broadly. So what would you say was the single best piece of advice you've been given by somebody during your career?
It was actually from you and my mum, Rich.
Oh.
Yeah. I remember you always saying to just not be afraid to apply for jobs, and my mum would just be like, take any opportunity that you want that comes your way, do it. I had a lot of like imposter syndrome, when I was applying for my place at Spindle, but I got it anyway. Some places are like, oh, you need 1,000,000 years of experience, but also be a recent graduate at the same time. Oh, and you've got to be fluent in like 8 languages and know this extensive list of skills and softwares. But just apply anyway. just do it. Those lists you see from big studios are very hard to find in a person. It's like a dream wish list, I remember you saying, Rich. The worst thing they will do is say no. And at least you have a small chance rather than no chance. So you think about the what ifs, like, oh, I got to sort out a new house to move into, to work there, or I got to learn this new software, I got to do this, I got to do that. But all these worries can be handled one step at a time. There'll be people in your life to help you through the process and give advice, and it'll work out in the end. Trust me, just do it. I almost didn't go to the Has Been premiere. I was so nervous about, the what ifs. I got the message inviting us it was like only a month before the date of the premiere of the screening. And I was like, oh my God, I've never been to America, let alone be on a plane by myself. I was terrified of being alone, but I was like, oh, I don't have anyone to go with. I don't know where I'll stay. I don't know what documents I need to enter the country, but it's a once in a lifetime experience. Take it one step at a time. Think about all these things later. I pushed myself to ask my colleagues for help. And my fellow British colleague Chi, super friendly person, and I asked for some advice from her, and she helped me out a lot because she's been to America herself as well, and so she had advised me on applying for the correct documents to get there. I eventually found the people to share a hotel with, and it all worked out in the end, and I made it there in one piece and back, and I had a great time. So if you don't take those risks and challenge yourself, you may miss on that chance, and you may not get another opportunity again. So please, just no matter your worries, just go for it.
Yeah, really good advice. So thinking about students who might be sort of currently building their portfolio of work in animation, do you have any specific advice for those students?
Yeah, so I definitely recommend, doing, learning quite a wide range of skills, animation mediums, different softwares, and learn about the different job types rather than sticking to a niche and one specific job title. Because, the animation industry goes through cycles, and at the moment, there's not a lot of job opportunities going around. So you really need to just take what you can get. So learn about all these, lesser known job titles like production assistants, animation revisionists, compositors, the people that, make the shot all pretty with all the lighting and stuff. Everyone will want to apply for the big character design job, the animator, the storyboard job, but these job titles are very popular and you'll have a lot of competition applying for them. So definitely expand out those skills and try something new.
Great. Yes, and so to finish off then, what would you say to somebody who was trying to build that network? I mean, we get a sense that you've got a really strong and supportive kind of network of animators around you as part of your Spindlehorse community. What advice would you give to somebody who wanted to kind of build their own network in animation?
So I definitely recommend get a Twitter account, post your work there, and on Instagram and whatever social media you like. Be active there, interact with other animators, comment on their work, and people will be more likely to know about you in the animation scene. Try and attend animation festivals and screenings. One of the biggest one is in Annecy, and it's an animation festival in France. I really want to go one day. Or you can attend some more local ones. So there's the Manchester Animation Film Festival, and then there's Aesthetica in York. And if you do go to YSJ, I think we get like the week ticket for free. And we can attend all the networking events, the screenings, master classes. There's big studios that may attend these festivals as well. So definitely go to those. And don't be afraid to reach out to industry professionals if you have any questions or want any advice. Every time I make a post on Instagram or Twitter of my animation work, I usually get people in the comments saying, can I DM you? I have a question. I'm like, yes, please send me questions. I'll try and help as much as I can. And when you do get your first animation job, make an effort to get to know your colleagues. Be friendly, be easy to work with. The animation community is quite small, and you're likely to work on a different project or different studios with people you've previously met. Everyone ends up knowing each other one way or another. So if you make a bad impression, you're unfriendly and difficult to work with, word gets around fast, and it'll be hard for you to find opportunities. No matter how talented you are, people will, in most cases, take the nicer person instead. So be chill, be cool, make friends, and you will be more likely to be recommended to recruiters and leads at other studios, so you can keep that career rolling. So yeah.
Brilliant. And I think that's fantastic advice to kind of finish up there. So thank you so much interesting insight into your career, your studies, and also loads of fantastic advice, which I'm certain will be well received as well. So thank you, Alisha, very much.
Thank you so much for having me.
No
Enjoyed
problem.
it.
It's been great to talk to you.
I always love talking to you, Rich.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
No problem.